I don't know, guys. I was supposed to look cool. This is one of those videos where I'll talk about a problem. I know it's something I do that's not really new here. I've already emphasized that. But I goofed up again. And to give context, I had rather a quiz bowl, specifically a math quiz bowl to attend to this morning. And I thought, or more appropriately, I convinced myself that it was going to be cancelled because, well, the typhoon and everybody else was cancelling. So I thought it would be the best opportunity to recover for today and just live out the embodiment of the lazy song by Bruno Mars. But even with that in mind, I still set an alarm 7 a.m. because I knew that the original schedule was 8. I set it for 7, woke up, and felt lazy and sick, or that's what I convinced myself to feel like. Checked the Math Society Facebook page, the organization hosting the Quiz Bowl, and looked for any announcements regarding the Quiz Bowl if they're going to push through. And I read pretty clearly that it was going to push through nonetheless because it's still considered to be one of those intramural activities, and the intramural activities are pushing through regardless of the typhoon and the cancellation by the local government and all of that. I woke up like 7 and the math quiz bowl was 8, so I thought there wasn't enough time and I felt lazy. So I just told myself that I'd just sit this one out. I woke up 2 hours later and they moved the schedule to 9, and I woke up like, no, they moved it to 9:30 and I woke up 9:40. Which brings me to today's topic. The cage of potential. I have briefly mentioned this in my upcut discussion video, but I really failed to build upon what I was trying to say, to elaborate on what I actually meant by this. And I just thought that it would be the best opportunity to talk about this now because of what happened a while ago. Because what does this cage actually mean? The way I think of it is being trapped in the feeling that you can do something but decide not to, or at least you were in a situation where you weren't just able to. And I think, or at least what's most apparent, or the initial conclusion that people would jump into, is that this is, well, the mere feeling of regret and guilt. The feeling of what ifs. What if I had woken up early? What if I attended the quiz bowl? What if I actually won because, well, everybody thought it was cancelled, so there would be less competition. But all that aside, it's knowing that I can full well keep up with everybody in that room full of mathematicians and computer science people, and knowing full well that aside from the consolation prize that I missed out on, I actually could have made it to top 5 at least. And that awareness of knowing that you can do something and not even take action in doing it, I would describe that as some sort of cage. It's like, the way I think about it, I know it's pretty self-deprecating and it's not really a negative or a positive mindset, rather, that my entire life it's always been like this. It's either I don't take the shot at all, or I take the shot and I fall short. And in a sense, it's one of the prices to pay of being entrapped in this cage. It's the curse of being one of the contenders, in a sense. It's that phenomenon where it's not quite the same, but it's quite similar to second placers feeling worse than the third placers, and being one step short every time. Or it's either one of the two. It's either I do it, I commit to it and fall short and still feel bad to some extent, or not take it at all and bear that feeling of regret. And it's always, for some reason, I've always rooted into this word called potential. And I do not know if this is exactly the right term to be using here, because, well, especially that you know you could be here. You know you could be here, but when you've always been ending up in this dreaded number of number 2, and sometimes I actually feel like that I'd be happier if I wasn't even in this podium, which is kind of a privilege to say, I know, but like I've mentioned in my previous video, as someone who was nurtured and convinced my entire life growing up that the only way to gain anybody or everybody's approval was to be here. Like again, I mentioned in the previous video or in my academic pressure video that I promised after elementary that I won't ever pressure myself to go for this even more dreaded number called number 1. For the entirety of my junior high school leading up to senior high, I actually thought that I'd be happier if I wasn't constantly striving for even any of these numbers. And of course that came at a cost, and that cost being I feel like I'm a former shell of myself. Like, dude, quiz bowls are my thing, at least back then, but not really my thing because I chose to, but because I was forced to, and that at the cost of breaking out of other people's expectations, I've trapped myself in this cage instead. And you know, either way, it's pretty sad, and I'm not really sure what to do because I've felt recently, like very much recently, that I had to prove something again, that I have to win this quiz bowl. I have to be the financial officer of GDCCOC and all that. Basically, it's not about this anymore. Like, it's not okay. It's better now, but I want people to know that I actually gave it a shot. That making it, yeah, that's great, but the thought of not even stepping up to the stage per se and stepping up to the role that you could get, and fully knowing that I could get but did not get it. I thought of journaling this in my on my Notion, but I thought this would be the best video to shoot right now. I actually was going to record a completely different topic, but yeah, I don't know. I want to be in the podium, but being on the podium is also pretty suffocating. And I broke out from that suffocation, and where did I find myself in? This cage. And now I feel like in the next few days, if not next few hours, this thought of me, the thought of what ifs, the thoughts, and perhaps even you could call it regret, because yes, I prepared for it, and yet when the time came for me to actually go and deliver, I just decided to sit this one out. And I don't know, I just want to. I think I subconsciously wanted to prove to myself that I have nothing else to prove, because that was my philosophy after elementary, and recently I was going back to my old elementary ways, wherein I thought, I do not want to talk about it specifically right now, but I thought that if I had won and if I had posted it on Facebook and storied it, people, like very specific people, would finally acknowledge me, that I was this word, that I was that, that I was this, that I'm not this, not that. But I guess last night before I slept, I thought that, okay, Homer, if you did win and you posted it, the same way you only felt that feeling of satisfaction for 30 seconds when you went up that stage when you graduated. Let's throw that real quick. Then like that's me graduating. Like I mentioned, it only felt good for 30 seconds, but I was never really, did I really want that? Me winning that quiz bowl, am I doing it for myself? And I subconsciously, probably, before I slept, and perhaps the moment I woke up, is that the inner me just didn't want to chase other people's validations anymore, because I know that yes, let's say I did win, perhaps even hopefully first place in some other universe, posted it online, storied it, and made some funny remark on the comments or in the caption, and then the people who I was seeking validation from, they probably just seen it and won't care. And I guess that thought loomed over my mind, which just led to me just deciding to sit this one out and using the pretext of a fever and a typhoon as a reason, as a very shallow one. So, yeah, I'm stuck now, I guess. I want people to recognize me, and when you're being, or at least feel like being looked down upon, people you look up to, especially back then, yeah, it really urges something within you to actually make something happen in your life. And it's suffocating because either choice I make, I feel miserable, and it's a loop. So I guess that's one of my problems in this phase of my life, and I hope that I'll be able to figure this out soon. So I guess that's it, future Homer. This cage, yeah, it's pretty sad.